Good morning, everyone. Aloha. We're at the Neutral Zone. Welcome to our show. It's Solar Eclipse Day. April 8th, 2024. My partner's birthday, Ariel. Happy birthday. My brother's birthday, a couple of other friends, Glenn. Well, April 8th, 2024. When I say anything in the 2000s, I thought Y2K was going to end our world. Today I heard that the solar eclipse was going to end our world. There are a lot of things that we hear that, have potential to be true or not. But there's some things that are absolutely true. And when I saw my guest today come in with a load of paper, I thought, okay, this is one of those absolutely true days. And you guys are going to benefit. Whether you're in Alaska, New Zealand, Australia, America, Europe, all of you will want to know about poison toxins that accumulate that are all around the world. But we're in Maui, and we had an event on August 8th of last year. Some say wildfire, some say other things. But whatever it is, we know that there are toxins in the soil. The ones that we've heard names of, there are lots of toxins. But the ones we've heard names of, dioxin, furan. I did a couple of shows about this Olowalu thing and brought scientists on and all kinds of people. And I got a message from a guest that was here a couple of years ago. I don't mean to wait on your name. The screen they see. This is Uncle Fed. This is Federal Reserve Brown. I could give your other name if you want. In person. Some people think of him as, what are they? When you pick a name like Federal Reserve Brown, people know that you must be serious, because to choose a name that is like that means you have some kind of message you want to deliver. So we had him on the show. I found nothing but delight in the last time you were here. And when you said to me, I have understanding about toxins like dioxin and Agent Orange, and I thought, what? I'm not giving up this issue about Olowalu and the poisons, because it's an issue that I want to call it the issue for Maui and the Hawaiian Islands, because it is a potential to destroy tourism, destroy people, destroy a reef, to invade a cultural site. Why is that? And we don't want to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the realities of what can happen if these dioxins and poisons are around a while.
That's very accurate, Jason.
Is that it? Uncle Fed. That was what Uncle Fed, welcome to our show.
Good summation. Good to be back.
Was that a good summation?
That's pretty accurate, yes.
Okay. Well, the reason I thought it'd be good to have you on, because I want the people in our world here and around the world that support the fact that toxins that are thrown into the ground and mixed with other dirt, with them intending on moving it all, is continuing to pollute. And if we don't address this now, we're going to be part of the history books, if there are even books to be looked at.
Yes, and not in a good light.
And not in a good light. Welcome to our show. Why don't you make sort of an opening summation, and then we'll jump in. How's that sound?
Well, when I lived in New Zealand, I was unaware the next-door neighbor was the Dow Chemical Company of the United States. I was unaware of all the aspects of Agent Orange, but I got put on a very sharp learning curve over 7 years. And the specific toxin that we should be worried about is dioxin. Now, the dioxin in Agent Orange is a 2378 TCDD dioxin furan, and it is unique to production of 2,4,5-T or trichloropheniol with chlorine. The dioxins in New Plymouth are from melted PCB, transformers, plastics, and polyvinyl chloride. This is known as 12378 PCDD. These two are peas in a pod. They're cousins. They're both extremely toxic. They're listed at the top of the POPs, the persistent organic pollutants. This means they can get in the environment and they'll stay there. They'll stay there for life. There's a lot of evidence backing up that they will not degrade, photo-degrade, as we see with nuclear waste and nuclear bombs, as Hiroshima and Nagasaki are two of the places I use as examples. If you compared Hiroshima and Nagasaki with South Vietnam and New Zealand, both Hiroshima and Nagasaki are safe and clean, and all that's gone away. If you took your Geiger counter there, it's silent. If you did dioxin testing of the air and soil in South Vietnam or New Zealand, you'd see that it's all right where it was sprayed. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't degraded. It's only accumulated into the fat of humans and or the cattle that are used to graze up the pastures that get sprayed with these products.
Quick question. How much dioxin is a medicinal challenge? I mean, how much does it take? Some people say, well, it's for years and years, and you were living in it. How much does it take of this poison to cause
it's measured in parts per trillion.
Wow.
And this is, it's a unique in its measurements. It's that toxic that such a minute, scarce amount produces such negative health results. And we saw this as a multi-generational poisoning, cellular poisoning. And this was, much to his credit, Bill Clinton had undone the restrictions on the Agent Orange compensation paid to Vietnam veterans to include their children and grandchildren, because it was explained to him that this is passed on through altered DNA into the fetus, and this is what we saw in New Zealand, was generations of people.
You shared with me, to look at the New Zealand thing, we're going to look at stuff, but you shared with me some material, one you can't even show in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Let Us Spray, which people could find on YouTube.
Yes, Let Us Spray is an excellent documentary.
And then Toxic Legacy, which is sort of like a shorter summation of it with some twists. These are background, but you have proof. I mean, with a stack of paper like that, yeah. What's the most important thing that you think right now Maui needs to know?
Maui needs to recognize the toxicity of dioxins, the permanent toxicity and nature of these poisons, that we need to cease the burying of them. It does not work. It winds up into the groundwater, as this was the investigation of alleged agrochemical waste disposal sites in New Plymouth, New Zealand.
Okay.
Now, the funny thing is I turned it, changed the title. It's the alleged investigation, because if you go through it, says everything's just fine. However, if you go through the document, you'll see that they found, with ground radar, thousands of drums of buried Agent Orange that were left over from. They were supposed to go to Vietnam, but they never made it because the Vietnam War ended prematurely.
Now, these drums, I always love. They said we're going to put them in drums
and bury them.
These drums surely are not undegradable.
No,
they degrade and corrode and all the rest.
Exactly.
And then there it is, directly into the ground and water table.
Exactly. God. They put 88,000 44-gallon drums in neat little rows, buried them all, and then put a low-income neighborhood on top of it in Paratutu, New Zealand.
My God.
My wife didn't know at the time, the woman I married and wound up living with. I went and dug up the backyard and dug a mine shaft straight down, and it was at about 12 feet. All of a sudden, clunk, clunk, and there was drums that were already disintegrated, and the smell came out was much like a chemical. Hardcore weed killers have a unique smell. It's a cross between chlorine.
Ago, right?
Yes, this were 20 years ago now.
Okay, well, this report 2001. It's not. I don't know why the EPA and the U.S. Army engineers and all the people that are supposedly our gurus that have done all this don't have this same information. Do you?
There's a thing called the revolving door. And the classic example of it is a man named Kevin. I can't remember his last name, but he goes from being the head of Monsanto to being an FDA or an EPA regulator, and then a couple years later he leaves that position and goes right back to Monsanto. We've got this revolving door in our government regulatory agencies that's comprised of industry officials, and they do things inside nefarious that cover up their own basically criminal behaviors.
Well, I was just happened to be that I listened to the news today, and there are other industries we see revolving door between government and private industry, basically controlling the game.
Yeah, it is. And this is how corporations take over the government from the inside. Monsanto and the FDA have this intimate relationship for many years. So this is why we wind up eating poisonous GMOs, and the food's altered, and the wheat's altered, and
I thought interesting that our new Maui grower, I don't want to be too crazy, Mahi Pono, when I saw the board members and I saw the name Chuck Magro, and you said, "Oh, you know who that is?" No, I really didn't. He's the CEO, president of Corteva
AgroSciences purchased the Dow site in New Zealand from Dow AgroSciences. And so I go behind the scenes and do some research. It's Corteva AgroSciences, headed up by Chuck Magro, is a subsidiary of Dow AgroSciences. So they've sold it to their younger brother and then tell the public, "Oh, we don't have anything to do with that," when it's the same people. Now it turns out Chuck Magro manages the Canadian pension fund that is Mahi Pono Santo here on Hawaii.
So that would give us a reason to think that the practices that are happening in our fields might not be the all organic.
They're
type.
not. Now I've approached Mahi Pono Santo. I got used to saying it on several occasions, trying to seek reassurance that the lines and miles of plants we see are not genetically modified. They won't answer. They won't. They call the police on me, but the police never do anything, to their credit. Yeah. So
for a phone call?
Yes.
Wow.
To be honest with you, several officers said, "We love what you're doing. Keep doing it." So there's elements within the Maui Police Department who are up to speed and good on them. But we passed a law here recently, 5, 6, 7 years ago on Maui, that you can't grow GMOs outdoors, and in the process criminally violate people's informed consent by exposing them to airborne hepatitis C. Monsanto said in the paper that they're growing corn to make plastics and vaccines for hepatitis C. Now, those are noble endeavors, but you need to do it indoors. This results in now Maui has one of the highest hep C infection rates in the whole of the United States. And we're not awash in junkies or other nasty habits where this would be contained. So the only conclusion is we're breathing it in, and we know we are. And the interesting thing is any one of those people getting a place to rent or buy next door to Monsanto in Kihei has to sign this lengthy, in fine print waiver that if they get cancer, they get any sort of illnesses, it's got nothing to do with the next door. And that's the same next door neighbor that was in the Maui news a couple of years ago. They sprayed something really deadly on their field and didn't tell the imported Filipino workers, "Oh, you can't go out there for a week," and allowed them to go out there. These things get hushed up under the swept under the carpet.
News is a selective business. You know that. Yeah, I'm always amazed. I hear about things like murders in the middle of Kihei, a string of murders and all kinds of things not being reported. I guess it's we don't want to scare everyone, but to me, all that is all society doing its thing at a micro level.
Yeah.
When I hear it happening, like we're talking about with the Dioxin in Olowalu, we're talking about being able to impact generations and generations of people and create problems that anyone that ever realizes that is the cause or even thinks it is going to say, "Why would you want to go to Maui?
Yes.
You want to kill your family and your children and your grandchildren? Are you interested in going and driving on roads that have poisons?" And these people don't even know that they're not supposed to expose this to the air. And
like birth defects are cool and cancer's fun. It's ridiculous. Not only that, it's transporting it from Lahaina to Olowalu. Everything in between is going to be.
And
we're talking about dust, and it rides it. Exactly.
1 part per trillion. Some people say, "Well, when you dilute that down," this doesn't dilute down. And all the ash, the toxic ash, I still don't know. Maybe you can share with me. Is there some reason why they wouldn't put these into sealed containers to deal with whenever, wherever, instead of doing this open air foolishness?
Correct. I don't know. They're using the least expensive remedial effort. This is money is big part of it. Now, if we apply that same standard towards people's health, that would be, like you say, contained in solid containers and treated so it can be returned. With the remedial best remedy is to treat the soil, and it goes through a high steam, high temperature process,
Right.
and
They're
gets
a technical
sanitized.
process.
It needs to be then. How would you say, like we turn a field fallow, it needs to have organic life, dead leaves and everything to put back, so the bacteria that belongs there should be there. So you need to take the dioxin out. In that process, you kill all living aspects of the soil.
So you had mentioned something that was sort of funny to me. Hardwood.
Yes. The people who did this report, this was Patel Delamore partners in British Columbia, and they had surmised that the best way to cure the dioxin issue was to plant hardwood trees all over the areas where the dioxin was sprayed. The dioxin molecule gets sucked up in a hardwood tree root and taken up the tree, and it's not quick. This takes years. Then the chain is broken. You'll find your dioxin molecules in particles instead of one.
And there's another process that maybe want to talk about, but the fact if you heat it up to something like 2,500 degrees, which we've heard, if you listen to our show, you heard someone talk. We could take all this, go to Utah, and someone's going to get rid of all of it, bring the temperature up to where it chemically disintegrates the dioxin, and naturally. Listen to these incredible options. Why don't we we don't hear about them? We don't think about them. Is that because of the
cost,
the Fed?
The cost, and it's not only expensive, but people realize, I didn't poison this. Why am I paying for it? Monsanto and Dow and these people, they did the poisoning. They need to pay for the reparations. And this is the constant, that gets back to our revolving door between regulatory agencies and the corporations. If Dow and Monsanto were held properly liable for the poisoning of the troops in Agent Orange in Vietnam, they wouldn't exist. A lot of them would still be in jail or dead and gone, and those men would have all been properly compensated, and the areas of South Vietnam that are still highly contaminated cleaned up. But it's very hard to clean up a tropical jungle. You defoliate it and kill it off, and then over time it comes back, but the dioxin's still down there.
Wow. I think we need the Lahaina forest. That's it. Who's gonna make that decree? Probably no one. Which means, I'm just saying, here we are. So if we take all that off and we put it in the earth, temporary or permanent, we still don't have any clearance for the permanent site. So I don't know if they're still bringing it. I think they are still bringing it to Olowalu. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Just today, now. Mayor Bisson, I think you deserve to get the information and then to really process it and realize that you are senior to everyone that's telling you to do it. If you think money's an issue, let's see about our private citizens that might fund the things that whether they do or not. I think it's almost like a moral responsibility.
It is a moral responsibility.
And this information needs to get to you because your children, your grandchildren, and all the people that whether they be West Side or anywhere here, are going to be impacted by this. And I don't know why this information is I say so available. Were these hard to find, or does anyone hold you from this?
This was hard to find. There was 10 copies of this went to print, and I wound up with 3 of them.
Oh.
So it's not easy to find. This is online, dioxin concentrations in residential soil, Paratutu, New Plymouth. But it's a lengthy read. It's very involved. It's highly technical. But it does come to the conclusion that the emissions were fugitive emissions Contamination occurred by discharges to air.
Say that again slowly. I'm just going to take a picture. Well, I don't expect everyone watching to be able to read this, but I want to be able to show you that this is real document.
It's serious.
What does that say again? It says that
the former IWD plant was the principal source of 2378 TCD present in the soil in the areas. Contamination occurred via discharges to air with subsequent deposition over the residential neighborhood.
So what was planted is only part of it because it is an airborne toxin.
And the thing for the people in New Plymouth, New Zealand is these discharges to air landed on the yards and everywhere and on the street and on the road. It also went inside the house, and it only accumulated in the crawl space, the wall cavities, and the attics. So these homes, they're much like Times Beach, Missouri. They need to fence off the whole area, and everybody needs to leave all their stuff and their belongings and be evacuated. People don't understand what happened in Times Beach, Missouri, but a dioxin-laden oil was sprayed all over the roads around the small town for dust control. They didn't know where the oil came from, but a short time later, there was horses bleeding from the eyes and nose and rabbits running all over doing weird stuff, and somebody said, "What's going on? Mother Nature's freaking out." And then somehow they chased it up and said, "Oh, my God, the truck sprayed the road full of dioxin-laden oil," and it was this Agent Orange-specific dioxin.
Didn't America ban this stuff forever ago?
You brought that up.
Another paper.
One of the documents says the possible health effects of manufacturer 245T in New Plymouth, and it shows in here. I was just reading outside. All these countries had banned production of 245T, trichlorphenyl, Agent Orange, whatever name you want to use, and New Zealand, in particular, basically told the world, "No, you're wrong. Everything's just fine." There's the containment vessel. This is the one thing that I keep bringing up to whoever takes over the Dow site. There's a containment vessel, 38 meters long by 3 meters wide, and this was the stuff that was too dangerous to dump in the ocean.
Place where you are. Too dangerous to dump in the ocean.
Yes. Now, I talked with Arno Stratislav in my kitchen in New Zealand before he died in a strange car accident, and I'd pressed him to what would happen if the containment vessel ruptured, and he reassured me it could withstand an 8.0 earthquake and all this. And I said, "Okay, someone accidentally ruptures it with heavy equipment," and he said that would be worse than a nuclear bomb, and I'd never heard that. In any event, this is the list of countries that either manufactured or had 245T in use, and all of them banned it in the late 70s or early 80s, except the United States and New Zealand. The United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the whole world where pharmaceutical companies are allowed to advertise directly to the public. Tell your doctor you want this Zoloft, Ozempic, or whatever. I mean...
Right, and then they read you the things that...
yeah.
If
and
you
then
die,
there's the side effects, which should scare you off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but I remember when I first got here, someone said, they still use DDT here.
Yes.
They stockpile. They were allowed to stockpile these things.
And
what is that? Do you know if that's so?
Yes. This is what happened in New Zealand. In 1986, they saw it coming down the pipe. The world was waking up. So they mass-produced 245T, and they warehoused it all across New Zealand so they could continue using it. And this was controlled gorse and other stuff for making pasture for cows to make milk, cheese, and butter to sell to McDonald's and sheep to sell to Saudi Arabia.
Whoa.
And the stuff they manufactured was highly contaminated. And they cared not. New Zealand's a fine example of the worst pollution is that what you can't see.
Wow. Now, with all that we just said, we said a lot. Did you hear the part about airborne dioxin?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the part about if you put it in the earth and it gets into everything? You've heard that. You've heard it before on other shows, but you're hearing it again now. You know, they say you got to repeat something 7 times until someone gets it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're at 7, but I sure know. Mr. Mayor, please stop. You are the king here. You are the controller of the of the thing. Please, please look at this closely. And anyone that can challenge those trucks moving. You know, I heard from someone earlier, in one of our earlier guests, that they had a friend, a son's friend, who was working there in the Olowalu, I want to call it a toxic dump site, temporary disposal site, they TDS. Thank you for using good initials. We didn't have to jump too far.
Yeah.
And some people were wearing full regalia costume to protect, and right next door is an area where they're wearing nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I saw a video that was done recently showing the trucks coming in, and as they dump, all the thing that's supposed to be containing this soil is just completely destroyed as they dump it and mix it with other soil. What is that? I don't want to stray too far, but I don't want to forget, this is all about Olowalu. This is all about stop what you're doing, take a look, and do something better. Continue, my friend.
A fine example of dioxin's toxicity is the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, compares incident rates among the most commonly diagnosed cancers worldwide. Male cancer rates are the highest in the United States, Hungary, and New Zealand. Hungary caught the fallout from Chernobyl. It went up in a cloud, fell down next door, and that's how they got highly contaminated. The United States has its main source of cancer is 1,553 nuclear weapons detonated above ground between Alamogordo, New Mexico, Utah, and Area 51, the Dugway Proving Grounds, I guess.
Wow, open air testing.
Yes, then they decided to put it underground. And I've read things that report this was one of the main reasons of fluoridating the water supply. It wasn't caring about people's teeth. It was to hide the radionuclides that were now in the water. Now, this cancer research agency came upon, also it said, there's no surprise in the types of New Zealand cancers New Zealand are getting. Our rate of colorectal cancer is very high indeed. We're undoubtedly the world leaders in that. And that is for the sole reason it went through the food chain. New Zealanders ate, along with Americans who went to McDonald's, ate milk, cheese, and butter that had dioxin in it. And one of the places our food sits for a while, the colon rectal area, is where cancers erupt, because these cancers caused by dioxin are high-speed cancers. They're aggressive cancers.
Wow. So I think that not only is this informative to me, it's alarming in the fact that we need to get these information to someone who will view them carefully, please, and come to understand that they're the ones that control the destiny of tourism in these islands. They're the ones that control the lives of people for generations right now. Now is when, they say now is the moment of power.
Yep.
Now is when we can make a difference in the long term. And so I'm just pleading for anyone out there that would like to look more closely, to be in touch with me or Uncle Fed here. Look at that big thing.
And all this dioxin research is open to anyone who wants to inspect it and go through it. I found an interesting one here that would be unique to Olowalu.
By the way, we're KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, Akaku Maui Community Media. I call it TV. Channel 55 on cable. We're up on YouTube. And, of course, at MauiNeutralZone.com. You can find all our shows. We've now done 4 shows on Olowalu. This is, to me, like a capstone. You know, how much truth is enough for the people to somehow embrace this and take it more than seriously, I hope. You know, I just know that I really believe that if the mayor would see this, it would give him pause to be doing the things he's doing. Because everyone that knows him that I know has said, what a terrific guy, what a caring guy. And so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Caring guy, maybe he got pushed because of finances, but finances do not make for generational, what's the word?
Yeah.
That's not what's going to make the big difference in the long term. So look at these collections of articles about dioxins and things that handle.
This is one of the documents I got out of the Dow Chemical Company. I'll find the one I'm looking for.
Okay.
This scrub desiccant is 4 pounds 2,4-D, 4 pounds 2,4,5-T. That's the common description of Agent Orange, and I've gotten chastised for people saying, "Oh, it's not Agent Orange." And I would say, some people are driving cars, some people are driving automobiles, are doing the same thing. You can call it something else, but it isn't. It's Agent Orange.
Right. Wow. Is any of this still being used, to your knowledge, somewhere?
No. We have a new improved Agent Orange called Roundup. It's supposed to be of a lesser toxicity. However, now we're finding out, no, it's a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other blood cancers. It's a nightmare, and Roundup's been sprayed everywhere in mass quantities and mass amounts. This is one of the results of the outfall near New Plymouth. Abalone, or what's called paua in New Zealand, is one of the main staples of the Maori diet. The paua will no longer grow to the legal size for taking. They had to lower the limits, the size for taking it.
Well, we've seen that. Remember automobile emissions? I remember when living in Los Angeles, and I got there in 1973, and they said, soon it's going to be a totally different thing here. They're going to be limiting the emissions in the next decade.
Yep. And
everything will be changed. And it seemed like every time they were approaching any kind of limit, they changed the legal limit. Here's another article.
These are men standing down there. This looks amazingly like Olowalu. That's where they put massive amounts of drums that were rusted and leaking. Now.
Wow. I guess it's the kind of the thing, it really is going to take our leaders to stand up for us, because we're trying to do it in, I want to say, in a gentlemanly style.
Yeah.
But it's going to take people that say, wait, it's up to us, actually. We have the power to stand up and make this change before... Well,
my biggest ally over the years has turned out to be angry women. Yeah. When a lot of women are ganged up and aware of a particular issue that affects their children, they get irate to the level you got no choice but to pay attention or run.
Yeah. But I mean, look at how many headlines. I keep seeing headlines.
Yeah, it's just one after the other, and the media keeps saying, "Oh, we need to keep the story balanced." Okay, it must be in this other one here. Keeping in mind that picture of the large dump that looks just like Olowalu. I'll find the one I'm after here.
Give me a date as you're scrolling through. What kind of date?
This is all between 2001. I was there from 1997. Some of them might be 98 or 99, but most of the war on Dow happened in
the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2000 to 2005 were the most intense.
You just told me this morning something that was intriguing, that the plant there, New Plymouth, is it still working? No, they got rid of the plant.
No, it's being torn down.
Now, who bought who? There was something about, you just said that Corteva was a subsidiary of Dow,
yes.
Right?
Chuck Magro sits on the board of Dow DuPont, which is Dow Merrill Pharmaceuticals, who is the main shareholder in Dow AgroSciences.
I see. Well, it also was intriguing that the pension fund in Canada has this gentleman, I'm guessing, as one of their board members also.
How does a pension fund in Canada wind up so heavily involved in agriculture issues at all?
Wow.
Where is it? Well, so many over the years, I'm losing track of them.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I can see they go on and on and on and on and on. Wow.
There's one article I'm looking for, and that is that all the Dow poisons turned up in a rock pool just below that dump, which means where they're at Olowalu, they're going to go right through the groundwater. It comes up and down and moves around, and then wind up, sure enough, in one of my favorite places to fish.
Well, it's really interesting. We've had Dr. Lauren Pang, head of the Department of Health, on talking about it. We've had Eddie Garcia and the research that he did, and people have shared that none of the EPA sites over time have stayed as safe as they've alleged. So Here we are, we're playing with the future. You've heard it, I've heard it, that the plastic liner is so thick that it will not degrade. Well,
yeah,
what?
That's not true.
Now, aren't we also, by example, if we're going to move it from Olowalu, that means we're in there. If you look at what's going on now, they're in there with big shovels and big things. You don't think that is going to become an issue of breaking the liner? Oh, we stay. I don't know how to say it. There was the thing about, did your prophylactic break? Is that why we have 6 kids?
That's it.
The same kind of thing here. Is that what leaking means?
Dow poisons in rock pool at the beach, at the ocean. It came, and this is it's a half a football field away from where that big, huge basin you saw dug out, and put a plastic liner and covered up. This all came out the face of the cliff, down onto the beach, and out into the soil. Now, an interesting thing here, I'd like to show you on the alleged investigation into sciences, is what they found they took sea life samples at all the sites around New Plymouth, from the Buller Street place all the way to Paratutu and Hirakawa Stream.
Wow.
In any event, there's one page, I'll find it here shortly, and it lists the type of anemone, the crabs, the whatever else, the fish and everything. The one by my house says no biota present. No bacteria, no life, no nothing. This is like someone scrubbed the beach sand with chlorine. No biota present.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is. Dioxin shellfish investigation, New Plymouth.
No biota.
Nothing alive.
In other words,
yeah,
right.
Now, these are the things that are alive they found in other places.
And they found nothing there after. Wow.
No biota present.
Yeah.
That's what's headed for Olowalu. No algae, only 3 tua. So anywhere this Dow and Monsanto go, death is sure to follow. In a lot of these places, you can see all the creatures that are listed. There's quite a few.
And now we're 20 years later. We know there are even more creatures.
Yes, exactly.
And we know people that use creatures to do all kinds of good things to eliminate toxins. But dioxin is not one of them.
No.
Right. That's got to be really clear. What do they say? How many times can you hit the nail? It's already in.
The nail's gone home a long time ago. It's been counted.
Driven
out the other side.
But it's an interesting thing that we face in our world. That people, as I look up there, I'm still glad we got 20 minutes, so we're gonna.
There's 7 issues of Investigate magazine. It started with this one, which opened my eyes to the situation in my neighborhood. My house is, where's Dow? My house is right about there, just on the border with the Dow Chemical Company. This was the next to come out.
Is it that when it passes the news cycle, the line of fire is already back, not top news?
Yeah, just went away real quick.
The Olowalu thing, oh good, we're moving it to central Maui, let's forget Olowalu. Not only that, is the new place good? The poison of New Zealand. Yeah.
This is Keith Bond's daughter. This is Keith Bond. was one of the dioxin researchers. Him, myself, and Andrew Gibbs started the DIN, D-I-N, the Dioxin Investigation Network. So it wasn't just New Zealand. We studied in Midland, Michigan, Seveso, Italy, Nitro, West Virginia, anywhere dioxin's been present in the 2,4,5-T production, and they've had accidents.
Wow.
This man, his emails are here somewhere.
That's all right.
He emailed me this. This is our conversation back and forth. I'd said, oh, hey, he wanted to know if I still had evidence for Dow, and I said, yeah, I broke into Dow and got their drums and documents and more. Can't wait to see you again. And he'd said, oh, thanks for that, Don. It's hanging there, but there are rats everywhere, so look after yourself. And anyway, he emailed and said, I'm coming down tomorrow morning. He'd come back from, I think there was a conference on dioxin in Luxembourg. And then he hit Midland, Michigan for there was a board meeting, and he was allowed in. And then he flew back to New Zealand. That morning, his house, and his car, and his barn and everything went up in a gasoline-drenched fireball, and they found him wrapped up in a carpet in his living room.
Wow.
Yeah. That was followed by...
wow.
This man is Matiu Tarawa in New Zealand. He is the head of both Kanaka Maori, all the Hapus. Mm-hmm. They have a lot more unity, the Kanaka in New Zealand. That's why they've been able to accomplish so much. He instructed me to do three things. One, I participated in taking all of these documents around to many marae in New Zealand and educating women. This is the man who said, if we're going to win this, piss off the women. Because if women knew what's happening to their children, these people are finished. And he was right. That was an army of angry women who crashed through the gates with Vietnam veterans in New Plymouth and shut the factory down. That was the end of it. He also said, I can't remember right now, but anyway, he called me up to a meeting in Auckland regarding all this, and there was Mayor John Banks and an entourage from the U.S. Embassy, FBI agents, and all the other three-letter agencies. And this man, after Keith Spahn had been murdered, stood up and told that room full of people, if anything happens to him, I'm going to burn Auckland, New Zealand to the ground. No. And he meant it. And they all, said, oh, my God, we won't let anything happen to Don. And I kid you not, there was a helicopter followed me from Auckland all the way back to New Plymouth, and it was a 4-hour drive. I could look out my window, there was that helicopter. Anyway, these 7 episodes of Investigate Magazine expose pretty much everything to do with Dow and Agent Orange in New Zealand.
I saw this in that Let Us Spray documentary.
Yeah.
Of horrible birth deformities and birth defects.
And this is why Matiu was right. When women see that, that's the end of it. They won't put up with that.
Well, I'm not a woman, but I'm pretty shocked at this myself.
Yeah, this is not
Look
okay.
At these, and
a lot of these are all these 7 in-depth, really excellent journalism was done by Ian Wishart of Investigate Magazine, and in the end, he had to flee the country. He now hides out somewhere in Australia, because if he goes back to New Zealand, they'll kill him. They've made all kinds of threats. This is a classic example. This is someone spraying scrub desiccant in New Zealand, and this is U.S. troops handling Agent Orange in Vietnam. Full rubber gear and breathing masks. This guy's out there in shorts with no breathing protection. That's the sort of thing that's gone on for years. And they told this guy, oh, don't worry, it's okay.
Well, that's why I said when I said about the Olowalu, that with no protection there were people out there, and then right next to them are people with full gear protecting them. And every truck that drives in, it's on their wheels, and every time it drives out. The more information I have that show me what happened before, the more I wonder what level of who's monitoring what's going on here that has an understanding of what we're seeing here. These are not hidden things.
No.
Yeah, my goodness gracious. I'm not one that likes to sensationalize, but this one...
You're not going to under-sensationalize dioxin or the dangers it poses. It is, it's openly described as the world's most toxic substance.
would I don't know what to say. Like, am I being overly aggressive? I wonder if anyone out there has an opinion. Am I being too aggressive in saying stop this now? It's blowing all over Lahaina. Put it in box cars or some closed container. Stack them as far and wide as you need to. If you want to keep them there, great. You want to ship them, great. But what are you doing? This whole process now, this interim process, is spreading a problem and intending on spreading it further. Take a look, please,
We have a case history of what not to do, and we're doing it. And it's like
that's why
you cannot learn at everyone's expense is not okay. We have to say, all right, let's deal with some, as they say, trust the science.
Have you learned to be polite and good guy? I mean, you came when I first met you. You were concerned that even me, we're all sort of polluted as a part of a quote. We want to stop you. And once I met you and spoke with you, I thought, this guy's like sane and normal.
Yeah.
And all he's doing is sharing.
Contrary, I try and keep things on a comical level, as ugly as it is, the whole issue. But no, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You need to be understanding. Listening helps to a great extent. And share your information as robustly as you can with whoever will listen. But again, once women understand, it's game over. They won't put up with it. And I really think if the women of Maui understood what Bayer, Santo, Dioxin, Monsanto, whoever those people are in Kihei were doing with these GMO, that would be done quick. I genuinely believe that.
Well, I guess that's going to be one of the tests of who's watching this show. All three of you out there. Now, you gather together. But, I mean, I think that what we have as messages are worthy of lots of ears and eyes, and people more qualified than I, and I imagine, very expert. I mean, every time I see things going on in the news, I watch, it's like the timing of things. They tell you all this headline, and then you find it. Wait. What do you mean? Central Maui landfill, the people of Maui on a survey decided the Central Maui. Did you tell them that you're moving toxins across the island?
Radiomimetic toxins.
Did you tell them that when you made them pick? Did you know it yourself? And if you knew it yourself, then you might be considered criminal. But let's now assume you didn't. You have a chance now, because I'm going to send this show to you and hope that you will take take nothing at face value. I would hope that you would think this important enough to look closely and make a move to stop what you're doing. Please, I don't know how to say it any more nicely. I don't know what to say.
Case in point, today's letters to the editor in the Maui News is there was a woman who attended the Haiku Community Center, irate about all these things, and she was not going to be shut up and took over the whole thing, and when they tried to pipe it down, she let rip. That's the sort of woman, once they're, self-educated amongst their own, in their own ways, there's no stopping them.
Well, I'm hoping that they don't need to rally together. I mean, we've had, I forgot what they called it, Pink Pussy Day.
Yeah.
What was it? Remember that whole thing about the pink cats and the pussy cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were men there too. I think it's an integrated effort of anyone that's awake. We really need to stop this right now and take a complete investigation on what to do. Because, first of all, I mean, I don't know if you challenge the EPA, but I do know that there are people that we all know that live here and on neighboring islands and control. This is going to impact their lives and their families and their islands. Just here in Hawaii, what do we have?
Yep.
Zuckerberg and Larry Ellison.
Bezos.
And Jeff Bezos. And
Winfrey.
We also have people like the Google guy. I forgot his name. The guy whose ex-wife is now running with RFK. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of the name either. But
there are lots of money, and there are lots of industries that can be profitable industries if we aggressively employed some of these technologies that people are, in small scale things might not make sense somehow. But this is a large-scale problem because we have a global problem at when you look at the way things are going, you can talk about climate change or not. We ourselves, as humans, are doing things here on Earth before we go to those big things. We're destroying ourselves. So here we have a chance to do something different and aggressively. Mark Zuckerberg, if you're out there, I'm your elder. I think you should listen to me. That's the only reason I got for you. I don't know how you were just a college kid and then you suddenly became the big guy. And I guess now we heard in the news from RFK that he believes, and I'm sure he could well be documented, that Joe Biden and company wanted a portal into all these social media sites to be able to repress any kind of information.
The censorship has been unreal. And this is why Elon Musk is so targeted, is because he said, oh no, we're not doing that here. And when he acquired Twitter, he fired 80% of their staff. And I saw the interview where it was like, how can you keep things running? And he said, well, that was the censorship part of the 80% of the staff at Twitter under Jack Dorsey was censoring people. You couldn't say anything about COVID. You couldn't say anything about 9/11. You couldn't say anything. It was shut down or hidden. And so once he took it over, the gates opened. And
well, these are really important subjects that I hope everyone will be pondering. But while you're pondering those subjects, start to realize that you don't have forever to ask the mayor to stop what he's doing. I'm sorry. I know that this is an issue that it becomes controversial only in that it's not being spoken about. But it surely, if it was you or your child, it is you and your child.
Well put.
This is you. This is it. This is your chance to make a difference in the life of you and your future generations. This is your chance to stop something right here in an island. We're a small economy. There was a survey done of Maui businesses. Okay, how are you guys doing? Very bad. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday's paper. It's not like these things are being hidden, but who reads the paper? Who? The whole world has changed. This is the kind of show you need to share. Not because we want ratings, although that's always fun. We need you to...
I love ratings.
I don't even know what that means. We're on public access TV, so we already know. I got 8 minutes. We already know that we don't have a viewership that we deserve. There are some shows here at KAKU Radio that are worthy of a broad audience, and they're local, and some of them are not local. We share the thing. I guess we have Pacifica feed, Pacifica Radio, but we're not promoted. There's other public stations, but they're promoted and they're private. This is money from the cable company that comes to run a TV station, and a little thing not connected, if you will, and not getting those monies and supporting a real simple radio station here that really doesn't promote itself and, has lots of limitations on it. But I'm very happy to have been here to be delivering this message and then trying to get it out there at MauiNeutralZone.com and YouTube. If you look at the history of what we're talking here, I'm sure when I look at all these papers and all these studies, I can only think that you're not the only one talking about this.
No, and there's, what do they call it, the 100th monkey syndrome? There's a monkey over here uses a rock to crack a clam. This monkey sees that, and he's doing it. For some reason, the one on the other side of the island who's never seen it suddenly does it. And I think that's going to happen on the knowledge about this and numerous other things, and that's what we really hope for. Now, the limited amount of viewers who are watching or listening today, they're going to spread this.
Right. Hope so.
They're going to realize, wait a minute, this is bullshit. We can't allow this. And again, back to...
By the way, we're at the 7 words. I think bullshit is okay. I don't know.
I usually say shite. But,
there we go, shite.
Anyway.
Did you have a New Zealand accent when you were down there? Did you develop
I lived in Australia for 9 years before I lived in New Zealand for 7. And I seem to have lost it. And, I remember coming back and I had a tiff with somebody in Lahaina many years ago now, and they said, I'm going to have you deported. And I said, where, Colorado? But yeah, I'd picked it up, and I'd had a very Australian accent for a while because I was down there so long and spoke their lingo.
Yes. Did I hear a knock on the door?
You did. Oh, it's 28 seconds.
No, I think not. Is it?
Yep.
Oh, it was a knock for us. Wow.
Well, that went quick.
That went quick. They say 21 seconds. They didn't start in at the right time, but we're going to give them a break and end on time. Uncle Fed, thank you for being here with me. You've been a real... We got a minute.
Thanks
Anything
for
else
having
that you
me.
think is important that you want to say or anything?
You've said it all, that this is an important issue. It's something we can do something about. There's a lot of external issues we don't have any ability to do anything about. We can't
see the clock and know when they're going to turn us on and off, but we know one thing. Thank you for being here, and thank you. Aloha.